Father, Mother God, we give thanks for this opportunity to be open to the awareness of your presence here and now. As we feel the comfort in knowing your presence, as we feel the strength moving through us, empowering us, as we feel the divine ideas moving through mind and stimulating and inspiring us. Indeed, we know that there are those who are very challenged in this moment, in this hour, in this day and week and month. And so we hold them in mind and we feel that power moving through them. We feel that power infusing them, lifting and healing them. And so it is that we hold Penny and Ellen and the many millions of refugees moving from war, moving towards hope. We see them all empowered with your love, your strength, your presence. And in this awareness we give thanks. So it is that together we say, Amen. I am prosperous. If I am so prosperous, why do I feel challenged? Why do I have this sense of, oh my God, am I going to make it through the month? Or, oh my God, is my stock going to return the dividends it's always had? Or, oh my God, the oil prices are going down and my oil royalty is going down. What am I going to do? Well, we have the opportunity in each and every moment, we have the opportunity to look upon the conditions that surround us, the conditions in which we live. We have the opportunity to look upon them in a way that is positive rather than negative. Fillmore offered us this in Prosperity, page 167. He says, the true riches and real prosperity are in the understanding that there is an omnipresent substance from which all things come, and that by the action of our mind we can unify ourselves with that substance so that the manifestations that come from it will be in line with our desires and needs. Instead of realizing the inexhaustible, eternal, and omnipresent nature of that substance, we have limited it in our thought. We have thought that there is only about so much of it, and that we had better hurry to get our share. We have thought that we must be careful how we spend it and put some of it away for a time when there won't be any more. Indeed, this is not just a personal problem, right? Not just a personal attitude, but it's an attitude of our culture. How many of you grew up with that teaching, right? The parents hand it down from generation to generation. And yet, that's not the way it is. That's not the way it is. Why is it that that is the attitude of our culture? It's the attitude of our culture because all of us individually, not all of us, some of us not, but many of us have the attitude, And that attitude arises from this aspect of consciousness which says that I am separate and apart from God and from everyone else. That ego, that aspect of consciousness which insists upon separation, uses fear, and fear of poverty is a big one. It uses fear to prove that that is so. It's about the ego, that aspect of our own consciousness, insisting upon separation, using whatever tools it has available to it, and those tools include, and most importantly for the ego, those tools relate to fear. Fear of poverty, fear of lack in any sense, fear of what people are going to do or not do, fear of the conditions that may befall us or may not befall us. Fear, 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 fear. And what fear does is it causes us to build a wall around us. And that wall that we build around us is a declaration that we are separate from God and from each other. So, we strive to grab for all we can because if we don't, someone else is going to get it. That's fear of our competition, right? Whatever that competition might be perceived to be. Well, in Matthew 25, Jesus offers a parable. And he's been talking about, in the parables, he's been talking about the kingdom of heaven is such and so, okay? But in the 31st verse of chapter 25, when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will put the sheep at his right hand and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, and you are blessed by my Father. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these, you who are members of my family, you did it to me." Then he will say to those on his left hand, "You that are accursed, depart from me and into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not give me clothing. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me." Then they will answer, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and we did not take care of you?" And then he will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me." And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. Okay, so we've heard this passage before, right? How many of you have not heard that passage before? Okay, all right. So you are accomplished Bible students. All right. So the passage as a parable, it is intended as a teaching device. And Charles Fillmore looks upon this parable and he sees it as a teaching of prosperity. Really? How is that? Well, the Son coming in his glory is that individual that has accomplished has become a student of the spiritual principles and has come into a realization, into a mastery of those spiritual principles. In the metaphysical interpretation, you may recall that people represent thoughts. Places represent states of consciousness, and journeys within the story represent changes in states of consciousness. Okay, so that's the underlying principle of metaphysical interpretation. And so the people are thoughts. And the people that are put on the right hand are those thoughts that are empowering, those thoughts that are lifting, those thoughts that declare prosperity in everyone, right? You clothe me, you feed me, you visit me, you comfort me. Those thoughts that are on the left, on the other hand, those are the thoughts that are related to lack. Those are the thoughts that relate to selfishness. Those are the thoughts that detract from the awareness of the all that is all. So this story is one that, the parable is one that Fillmore sees as a teaching in prosperity. So he goes on in the book Prosperity. In another parable, Jesus explained the same process as a separation of the sheep from the goats. When this divine current of love and spiritual understanding begins its work, we must make this separation. We put the sheep, the good and obedient and profitable thoughts, on the right, and we put the goats, the stubborn, the selfish, the useless thoughts, on the left. Each must handle his own thoughts and overcome them by aligning them with the harmony and the order of the divine thought. So in Charles Fillmore's perception of this story, he is seeing this as a practice of separating in our own mind those things that are empowering and those things from those things that are disempowering. And so what he's saying is that focus here. Let go of that. How many of you, in getting up in the morning and looking at the things that you need today, you need to do today, have this thing, oh my goodness, I don't have enough time. This is going to be a very busy day. I'd better get right to it. And so it is that we are off in a tear with the concept that there is lack. There's not enough time. Now it turns out we have all the time there is, right? We think that we have too many tasks to be accomplished in a given day. And indeed, it may be necessary from time to time for us to look at the tasks and say, okay, this is the task that I can put off until tomorrow. I'd love to do it today, but that's fun and so on, but it needs to be put off until tomorrow. So we can look at our plate and we can say, okay, this we can accomplish today. These things we won't be able to accomplish today. The world will not end if we don't accomplish these things today. But on the other hand, these are the most important things for me to turn my attention to. Okay, now that is a positive, constructive, empowering thought process, right? It's empowering because it is allowing us to decide. This is important, this is important, this is not important, this is important, this is important, this is important, this is not important. And then we accomplish those things that are important to us. Well, this process of putting on the left those things that are disempowering, that Fillmore talks about as denial. In pages 174 and 175, it is just as necessary that one should let go of the old thoughts and conditions after they have served their purpose, as it is to one should lay hold of the new ideas and create new conditions to meet one's requirements. In fact, we cannot lay hold of the new ideas and make the new conditions until we have made room for them by eliminating the old. If we feel that we cannot part with the goats, we shall have to do with fewer sheep. If we insist on filling the vessels with bad fish, we will not have to do without the good. We're learning that thoughts are things and occupy space in our mind. We cannot have new or better ones in a place already crowded with old, weak, inefficient thoughts. A mental house cleaning is even more necessary than a material one, for the without is but a reflection of the within. How many of you find yourselves thinking about those disempowering thoughts, worrying about the conditions that might befall you, that are concerned with the stuff that really doesn't move you forward, but literally is mental baggage? I saw a cartoon that flashed through on Facebook. The fellow was standing at the counter talking to an airline ticket agent, and she says, "Oh yes, sir, that total is correct. The airline is now charging for emotional baggage." And indeed, we carry a bunch of emotional baggage with us. We drag it, right? If I could just let go of these terrible thoughts, if I could just let go of all the stuff that's keeping me back. Well, surprise, surprise, it's just a matter of letting go. All right? How powerful we are that we can choose that which we will hold on to and that which we will let go of. So, this process of denial is an important step, and in the 5 pillars of faith, in step 4, the tools of transformation of consciousness are prayer, meditation, denials, and affirmations. And in the prosperity process, denials and affirmations are indeed a very powerful set of tools. The denial is not it's not denying the existence of something that is right in front of you, but rather it is taking away the power of that which is in front of you, that which is holding you back. So the denial is in preparation. I would think of it as a landscaper who wants to plant a tree. You don't see a landscaper roll the maple tree in with the root ball and lay it on top of the ground and say, "Thank you very much, that'll be $450. No, the landscaper is going to have to dig a hole, and to put the tree in there, get it straightened up, put some tie downs on it. But the point is that you excavate first before you plant the tree. The tree is the affirmation, the excavation is the denial. So you'd make room for the new thoughts by letting go, disempowering those thoughts that are restraining you, keeping you in check. The interesting thing is that we are creative beings. Each and every one of us. You might say, well, I'm not an artist. I can't write poetry. Last time I wrote something was that I was going to be late for dinner. And that's not the creative power I'm talking about. The creative power I'm talking about is that process where we literally dip into this realm of substance, and through our inspiration and intention and assumptions and attention, we bring that into manifestation. We can bring in bad things into manifestation, right? Things are distracting, things that hold us back, things that do not allow us to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. We can, in fact, bring those things into existence. We are creative beings, and that creative process is one that we have talked about. Come on, back up. Okay. That creative process is one that we have talked about, and it is the heart of the principles of prosperity as taught by Fillmore in Unity. So, think about the last time that you decided to accomplish something. In your decision, in and of itself, the decision was a thought process, right? Okay, I need to do this, or I want to do this. Whatever it is, I'm going to accomplish this. And that is a thinking process. And that thinking process is the stimulation then for your creativity. In Fillmore 177 to 78, we mold omnipresent substance within our mind and make from it all things that our mind conceives. If we conceive lack and poverty, we mold that. If we visualize with a bountiful eye, we mold plenty from the ever-present substance. There is perhaps no step in spiritual unfoldment more important than the one we are taking here. We must learn to let go, to give up, to make room for the things we have prayed for and desired. This is called renunciation or elimination, sacrifice, it may even seem to some people. It is simply the giving up and casting away of old thoughts that we have put us where we are, and putting in their place new ideas that promise to improve our condition. If the new ideas fail to keep this promise, we cast them away in their turn for others, confident that we shall eventually find the right ideas that will bring that which we desire. You know, we look around at the entrepreneurs, the famous entrepreneurs of the world. We see the fellow at Virgin Atlantic, and we see Steve Jobs, and we see what's his name, Microsoft, Bill Gates. Yeah, how could I forget? Really, Bill? I'm sorry. So we see these individuals, and we say, "Wow, weren't they lucky?" How could, they were fortunate right out of the gate. Very few of them were. Turns out that Bill Gates, as an example, decided to go to Harvard. Why? Well, because his dad was a lawyer, and his dad said, that's what you need to do. And so, can you imagine when Bill Gates phoned home to say, "Hey, Dad, yeah, I know I just arrived here this year, but Harvard's not for me. I want to do something else." What? Well, I don't know. Could be that his dad said, "Good for you, son." I don't know. I wasn't in the conversation, but nonetheless, one could look upon that and say, "Wow, that was really the fellow didn't take advantage of this great opportunity to get a Harvard education that his dad presumably was paying for." Well, indeed, we look around at the many people, and we see that their history includes failure. But their response to failure is different than someone who hit a wall and said, "Well, that's it. I guess it's not in my future that I'm going to be prosperous, that I'm going to be, having the things I want." Well, indeed, if the new ideas fail to keep their promise, we cast them away in their turn for others, confident that we shall eventually find the right ideas that will bring that which we desire. So, there's the process. We pull from the ethereal, we bring into form. It is through our inspiration, intention, assumptions, and attention that we make that happen. It is a thinking process. It is within our consciousness. And if we have faith that that indeed will work, then we are empowered to draw from that. And remember that it's not about building wealth. It's about letting go of fear. Prosperity is about letting go of fear. Because fear is what keeps us away from the realization that we are one with God and one with each other. Prosperity may result in great riches, great fame, great power, but that's not its purpose. Its purpose is to draw us into closer relationship with God. Fillmore offers this. We all want better financial conditions. Here's a way to obtain them. Deny the old thoughts of lack of money and affirm the new thought of spiritual abundance. Everywhere manifest. Everywhere manifest. He looks at the story of David and Goliath. And David, as you know, David means the beloved. And so from a metaphysical perspective, David is the beloved of God. David is known to have slain the bear and slain the lion. And of course, the most famous slaying that David did was of Goliath. Well, it turns out that the bear, the lion, and Goliath all are fears. Fear of sin, the bear. Fear of sickness, the lion. And the big one is fear of lack. The Goliath, the fear of lack. And so he offers us this as, in David and Goliath, you know that David picks up 5 stones, and those 5 stones are used to slay the fear of lack. And the 5 smooth stones chosen by David from the brook represent 5 irrefutable statements of truth. These statements, sent forth from a mind confident of itself, its cause, and its spiritual strength, will crush the forehead of Goliath, error's giant. The statements are the following, and I paraphrase. I didn't use the whole, but I paraphrased here. I am the beloved of God. My affirmations are powerful. As a child of God, it is my right to enjoy God's abundance. I deny the thought of lack in my affairs and of those around me. I do not fear lack in any form because God's abundance is omnipresent. I share my divine inheritance with wisdom. So these 5 affirmations are what empower us to move forth in confidence, move forth fearlessly, move forth into our next moment of experience, confident that there is an omnipresent substance out of which we can dip, and through our inspiration, our intentions, our assumptions, and our attention, we can bring that into form. We can make that manifest in our lives. When we know that, when we grok that at a very deep, visceral level, fear disappears. Fear disappears. And so it is, the 5 stones. I am beloved of God. My affirmations are powerful. As a child of God, it is my right to enjoy God's abundance. I deny the thought of lack in my affairs and of those around me. I take the power away from this idea of lack, both in my own personal experience as well as in the experience of those around me. I do not fear lack in any form because God's abundance is omnipresent, and I share my divine inheritance with wisdom. There it is. Affirm. Realize. Make it real in your experience. Realize that you are empowered to be a prosperous child of God in all aspects of your experience. In your career, in your relationships, in the conditions of your life, in the opportunities that are brought before you. These things that spring up. I had no idea that was happening. Got a call the other day from the holders of our second mortgage. They said, we have an opportunity that your congregation might be interested in. Come on up. Let's talk about it. So I drove up to Loveland and sat down with one of the principals of this company, and he offered a proposition that may, in fact, dissolve our second mortgage. Take it away. $104,500. Don't know whether it's going to happen yet or not. As the details become more clear, I'll let you know. But we never know what extraordinary opportunities might arise before us. If we are ready, prepared, if we are cued to realize that we are abundant children of God, deserving the inheritance of God's abundance. We are ready for those opportunities to unfold. Over the course of the next 30 days or so, we'll have a better picture of whether or not this is going to come to pass. But nonetheless, we celebrate. We celebrate, confident that we are God's beloved. We'll have our meditation. As we breathe in, let us declare, I'm a child of God, a beloved child of God. As we breathe out, I deserve God's inheritance. We breathe in, I am a beloved child of God. We breathe out, I deserve God's abundance. I'm a beloved child of God. I deserve God's abundance. Let that be your affirmation for this week. I'm a beloved child of God. I deserve God's inheritance, abundance, all that God offers. And let that be our practice. As we come back into this time and space, let us come back sharing the words of Alleluia.